strategic for its General Commander-in-Chief, Domingo Hernandez Lares, reviewing all the deployment ordered by our commander. A deployment that is intended to reinforce a major operation that was already deployed at the beginning of the year in the Southern Lake region. The Catatumbo and Semprún municipalities, which we call Operation Catatumbo Lightning. Today we are going to reinforce it with 15,000 troops on the front from up there at Castilleet all the way to Táchira. That covers 851 kilometers out of the 2,219 kilometers we have of borderline. The strategic commander told me there will be a major deployment, a significant deployment of air corridors, aerial resources, helicopters, listening devices, surveillance, intelligence, and reconnaissance. And each one of those cheers, 60 cheers, 30 in Zulia, 30 in Táchira, are made up of 250 men each, completing the 15,000 troops ordered by our commander. The commanders of the units involved, who are going to be involved, will soon receive the operation order. This is a very quick planning process since we know the territory, we know the geographic conditions, and we know the conditions and characteristics of the armed terrorist drug trafficking groups that are present.
He's still going on with a really long speech there. It's a curious thing after seeing so many military intelligence reports and statements from military spokespersons. It's striking that he gives details I've never seen before from anyone. I mean, he shows the whole map. He doesn't even cover it up. Does he not care about that? He tells exactly where they are and how they're divided. You wonder, what kind of soldier gives away so much information? I mean, no. Have you ever seen this before? They don't always blur them. They never give the details. They say, look, there are 15,000 soldiers deployed, and they're not going to give you all the details anymore. Here they're basically saying what time they go to sleep, right? They might as well just give all the details at once. Honestly, the way this issue is being communicated is unbelievable. And well, it's a way of doing things. Ultimately, their goal is to show strength. They've repeatedly discussed the 15,000 soldiers in various ways, and this is the most detailed. Does giving so many details attract attention? It's unusual, let's say, to see this. And it could be true, it could not be true, right? But the point is that they're making those moves according to what they say. Now, another thing that stands out, and it hadn't happened before, and usually when they're in the United States, they show those spectacular images. It's always been that way as far back as I remember. And when you were a kid, you would watch the news about Iraq and all that, right? Didn't you see how they showed it? They always used a strategy of displaying force first with shocking videos and images. And well, obviously that's the strategy that continues in the United States, which is to spread images of the operations. For example, of the amphibious assault ship United States ship Iwo Jigwa, headed to or already in the Caribbean. Some of them, but they show, well, these flights that show, well, these preparations with the helicopters, with the military jets. Let's go with the Marines, who are there preparing some, well, I don't know if weapons or missiles. It looks like some kind of launchers, well, carrying out some operations. Those are the images from the United States. That's what it shows. That's the second thing so far, because they've shown a couple of things, just some very simple photos. This one is a little more advanced. It's odd they're not uploading videos since they usually do. You know what we see from the center over there in the Middle East, from the United States base that's in the Middle East? Well, always videos, not always videos. Even at night, during the day, photos, videos, there's always like plenty of material like that. This time though, they didn't release some photos.
A few photos are the ones being shared today, which are supposed to be for these photos. By the way, they're between August 24th and 25th. They're aerial maneuvers and combat exercises. There are also airplanes and helicopter operations and drills with mortars, which is what we're seeing right now. They were kind of lying down. The load consists of anti-aircraft missiles. The Pentagon hasn't given any dates, but they're expected to arrive around the 28th.
They might get close to the 28th. The bet they're making, at least right now, as you are, Blanca Ben, Alex, Ofe Mendez, the whole community, the bet the United States is making right now is the bet to show strength, but it's not clear to anyone. I've watched various United States media reports and each discusses different theories. Some say it will work one way, others disagree. The reality is nobody knows. It also seems this operation is mainly to show strength and see how Maduro reacts, right? Depending on his reaction, a decision will be made. But it seems like the decision hasn't even been made yet. At least that's how it looks. According to Padrino, what they're moving right now are drones and naval patrols in Lake Maracaibo and the Gulf of Venezuela. They have surveillance missions. They have, well, let's go. Deployments in the area between what is the Caribbean, between what is Colombia, the border, Colombia and Venezuela. Just to be clear, they're not deploying in the Caribbean first, just so that's clear, because sometimes it can be confusing. This movement is a military movement, Venezuela. Just to be clear, it's a military movement, but not related to the issue. If it's here, look, it's on this side. Let's see if we can see it here. It's in this area where the movement is happening between Venezuela and Colombia, that is at the border. There must be other points between this one, especially this area where communication is higher. It's already more like the Amazon here, but just in this area. In fact, it shows this piece of the map where the Venezuelans are going to be operating here in this area. And, well, the United States, in theory, will be on this side. That's what is believed. It will be more on the Guyana side. Apparently, it won't be on this side anymore. It could be that they're operating near these regions. Over by Aruba, it's possible, but it seems like the operation is more on this side and the United States is on the other side, right? Also, remember, a French military ship will be there, right? This one is going to be around these parts, even though they say it's for another reason, but it's kind of suspicious that a French military ship is around there. Still, this movement is bigger than we expect and we haven't realized it yet, but isn't that curious?
Exactly. And at the same time, today, Caracas asked the United Nations for an immediate halt to the United States military deployment in the Caribbean. Have they spoken directly to the United Nations about this yet? It's a statement issued by the Venezuelan Foreign Ministry. The foreign minister's name is Ivan Gil Bueno. His name is Ivan Gil, and he requested the support of Antonio Guterres to restore sanity and stability in the area.
Well, so they're making moves with the United Nations. They're making armed deployment moves, right? Hey, from the United States, they keep insisting that this is an issue that only has to do with organized crime. So what they're trying to do is stop the flow of illegal substances. That's the idea, right? At least, isn't that what the United States says? And that's already a huge movement. So if nothing happens, the idea of the taco will come back, right? It'll be like, hey, you moved too much. You made an extremely expensive deployment of millions and millions of dollars just to come back empty-handed, right? If it had been just 2 or 3 little ships, you'd say, well, they were just cruising around seeing if they could stop somewhere. A submarine from organized crime? But if we've seen 9 between ships and submarines, that's 9 or 10 around there. And what about the ones that are on their way? And all this, besides the planes that would also be flying around, and then nothing happens. You say, well, that there isn't a single movement at all? And yeah, that would be really strange. It really would. Now there's a report, and this is a report I'm going to handle very carefully. It's a report from these intelligence sites focused on military matters. But I see more connections to it being politicized or things like that, which, well, isn't really anything out of the ordinary. It's worth noting that several Brazilian media outlets have brought in Brazilians, which isn't bad, so we should also choose Vince's, not because those media are bad. No, because they're not very well known, but they are. It's specialized in military and security topics, and they insist that there's an operation called, let's see if you have it there, but it has the Operation Imeri. Watch out for this because Brazil and Venezuela would have met and planned Operation Imeri, which is Imeri. It's an area that divides Brazil and Venezuela, exactly that divides Brazil and Venezuela. So through there, they were going to extract Maduro and several others, and they were going to bring them. So Brazil was going to go after Maduro and bring them and hide them in this, what's it called, in Brazil? So they were going to take them to protect them. I don't know. Since it didn't happen, I would put this in the realm of speculation. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened so far, but it could happen. Exactly. Unless a document emerges that clarifies this, I don't think it's impossible. possibly, Lula da Silva is extremely angry and upset with Trump. But we also have to acknowledge that Lula has criticized Maduro's regime several times. He's even called it a repressive regime. I mean, Lula da Silva has been one of the most critical voices within the Brazilian left, calling it not just a repressive group. But recently, several politicians close to Lula said that they do not recognize Maduro as the government. They have a state relationship, but they don't recognize him as the government. So is that why Brazil is so politicized and divided? I see this as very likely a media outlet that's trying to push Lula's agenda. That's why I'd handle it carefully and see what happens. Should we discuss it? Let's talk about it as a possibility. If it actually happens, then we'll have more information to go on because after all, it's data. I insist that, well, I don't know. I see them. Since it's from a questionable source, we should wait and make that clear. But yeah, this is going to get big. I mean, it's going to be a rumor that's going to grow and grow. So just so you're aware that that supposed idea is going around, which is pretty curious, right? Because in part, just imagine the position Lula would be in. I mean, forget it. A lot of countries would start to distrust him from that point on. So I see it as something that would even be kind of dumb. Doing something like that wouldn't make much sense. But anyway, let's move on to other important matters.